The Transition Monitoring Group (TMG) Monday expressed disappointment over the Senate's poor investigation of sexual allegations leveled against the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. In a statement signed by the chairman, TMG Awuwal Rafsanjani, the TMG pointed out that Akpoti-Uduaghan clearly alleged that there were underlying issues that led to the reallocation of her seat on the floor of the Senate that fateful day. And to have this conversation, we have Onyinye Mama, who is Executive Director, Heroing Women Foundation, and President, WOSUWO. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, let's dive right into this topic. What do you think are the obstacles, preventing women from staying in offices, in government offices precisely?
All right. So,
Okay, ma.
there are quite a number of things that could militate and mitigate against women staying in political office that are in the same political positions with them are higher. And so, when they get to share opportunities to vote or stand for each other, the women always keep getting the lesser number. Now, there are also chances where they do not have relevant and very dominant positions in the same circle of leadership. There's a culture of religion, and then there's also culture of norms, how we used to do it, where women should be placed, who women should be. Women should be seen and not heard. Women don't have to stay late night out like the men. And so too many things militate and mitigate against the women's presence, especially dominating in the place of political, space. So I mean, too many factors stand. Religion, culture, gender stereotype, discrimination, having less number in the political space, not being leaders of political parties, and so many other issues.
Protect women from unforeseen circumstances or dangers that could actually harm them.
I didn't get you. I think I lost you at some point.
Can you hear me?
I'm just
I
hearing you
said
now. I
this
lost you at some
laid
point.
down rules that you just mentioned, not going to certain places, not coming back at night. There's so many rules that you just outlined. Don't you think these are to protect women from certain situations?
I mean, we were first humans before we became gender, and I understand perfectly that any woman who has come out to say, I want to be involved in politics, is ready for both the night, the tussle, the combat, and the wars that comes with it. But especially their husbands do not see them able to stand the same tide with the male folk. I know of a friend who contested that time in the same political space with men. The husband was so supportive. He would carry her to meetings and they will come back the same time in the night. Because I mean, nobody is safe in the night. Not a man is safe, not a woman is safe. If a man can carry a gun, a woman can carry a gun. A woman is also in the police, a woman is also a soldier. A woman can also defend herself if properly trained. So, I mean, security, safety, and caution is to be applied by everybody. It's not an exclusive reserve for just the men. And nothing says it's just the men every time that should take care of all of us. So, a woman that is already posed for a political tussle, political combat, I think that woman should also be allowed the privileges to follow the male folk to go through meetings. Like I said, there are very supportive men, supportive husbands, supportive brothers that do carry their sisters to political meetings come back late, and they continue with the others. I mean, for the women who have, over the time and age, succeeded in the political space, were they not part of meetings that happened late in the night? So it is still gender stigma to say that women should not work in the night and men should work in the night. Those men, are they not human beings? Shouldn't they be protected as much as the women should be protected? I mean, it's usually weapons that people who ply the night, the bad night use. So are you saying that every man in the political space is privy to one weapon or the other for the night, and then the women cannot use it? So these things are some of the gender stigma that will blow out of proportion, that relegates the women in the political gambit.
Okay, what role do you think the do electoral systems and processes play in hindering or facilitating women's participation in government?
Okay, so it's just minute, right? It starts from procurement of forms. So if we make procurement of forms very exorbitant, very limited number of women are financially capable or financially buoyant to buy very expensive forms just to participate in a political practice. So we start from the time where people cannot even purchase forms, tickets or forms for themselves, to not being given very recommendable positions in their political parties, to not being allowed to do what the men are doing in their local or smaller wards. So there are some electoral practices and procedures that indirectly discourages the woman from being fully participatory in the election process. So from the procurement of tickets to being involved in, okay, for example, we have a lot of political parties in Nigeria. Tell me any of the political parties, or tell me two or three political parties where you have women as chairman or chairman of a political party. So until we begin to have women who are chairmen of political parties, you may never find a woman beyond being a woman leader in every political party or every political circle. So there's this relegation that has been found over time, and it has a major toll on the women. So from the procurement of the tickets to not being financially buoyant enough to, get their forms and contest on the same level playground with their male folk, that's already an inhibiting factor for the women. So I'm not saying you should sell it cheap, but there's a reasonable that you should not sell forms to the women. I don't want pity, and I don't want I don't want it to look as if we're being, we're calling ourselves victims right now. What I'm saying is, can we have a considerate amount of, fee given for political tickets, political forms, so that any person who is viable, credible, competent, and capacity filled can go for that form and be able to lead. Do you know there are lots of Nigerians that will never come out in any political exercise because they have not even fed well, not to talk of buying tickets for themselves. But those people have the character to stand the test of time. So these
Mm.
are the tiny things
So,
we do
so
to
what exactly
discourage.
would you say are the specific cultural norms or beliefs do you think are among the most significant barriers that are actually preventing women and hindering them from achieving leadership roles in governance?
Okay, so in culture, it is believed that naturally the woman should submit to the husband. But what we have, been widely fertilized in this side of the climb is subjugation. And now that subjugation makes an ordinary man to see a woman who is outright, well expressed, and loud enough to say she wants for a political seat or the other. She is being viewed as promiscuous, one. Then you could imagine the sense we all grew with, including me and yourself listening, that a woman who plies the wild night, it's not is no longer in the range of a decent mother. But nothing signals that a woman who flies the white knight cannot be a good woman. Circumstances has prevailed over her, considering the situation of things that most political parties prefer their meetings to hold in the night. But there's that tag, there's this asterisk that people fix on women who go late night, even when what they went for is decent enough. There's also this tag people, drop on women who participate in politics. Almost all the women in politics are being seen as either flirts, promiscuous, or women who can't keep a home. So culture has really elaborated that asterisk that we present when we see women in politics, women in governance. This one must have gone beyond the normal thing. She must have been sleeping her way out and all of that. I know these are prevalent cases in women in governance, but then there are very outstanding, decent, and identified women who have stood the test of time, though always minimal in number. So culture allows women to be labeled promiscuous, labeled flirts, labeled, there are too many labels culture has given to a woman, especially when she comes out and she's well expressed in the public. They are like, are you sure this one can keep a home? Which kind of man is married to a woman who comes out and be shouting in the presence of a man, I will do this and I will do that? That belief that a woman should be seen and not be heard have really made the head woman look like she is no longer a mother figure. So these
Do
are
you
these
do you
are
really think that these double standards would ever come to an end? The double standards we have in society now will ever come to an end one day?
Yeah, so I think these factors have lived into centuries. And there's this thing about change. Change is not sporadic. Change is gradual, and its gradual process is supposed to be allowed with the greatest patience of all time. So if we have allowed these things to transcend generations and centuries, our advocacy and our consistency in trying to resensitize and reorientate our people towards diverting their minds from what it used to be to what it should be, it should also be given time. Let me tell you, by the time we take up schools, by the time we nurture and reorientate our kids from the ages of 5 to 19, 21, it becomes normal for them. It becomes a value that is already imbibed. They will grow with this feeling that women are human and should be respected as much as every other person is respected. So, because there were some practices we subconsciously entrenched in our homes and they stereotyped women to look like a certain people for certain gender roles, we will take time, the world will take time to come out of it. So I think we may not grasp 100% after some time, but it will come to the point where one, two, three, four cases are cited and it will look abnormal. So I think we also need to be patient with the trend. It's not something that we're just going to sweep off so quickly because it has transcended generation to generation, centuries over centuries, and all of that. So gradually, what we need to do is to be focused, very tenacious with our sensitization, and make sure the gospel is the same.
Interesting. Let's look at it from the aspect of education. How does access to education, hinder women? What's the impact that it has on women in governance, and how best can this actually be improved in every ramification? How can it
Did
really
you
be
did you
improved?
did you say association to? Sorry, hello.
Can you hear me?
You said I didn't grasp the question very well.
Okay. I said that let's look from the angle of education, women education. How does
Okay.
access to education impact women's representation in governance, and how best can this be improved?
All right. I mean, education is the spice there is to it. You can never have it wrong. When you continue to allow education to blossom, especially in the life of the girl child, who soon grows into the woman that the society is expecting. And so, when education is allowed to mainstream the right things, the right values, the proportion of decency in the girl child, who soon blooms and blossoms into a woman, I think she will directly and indirectly inculcate and imbibe all those things that education has planted in her own generation. So, I mean, we should be very deliberate with education. We should be very, very deliberate with educating the girl child. The girl child is that child who should be nurtured, not as a favor in education, but as a proper step that will keep her distinguished from the other gender. So we can only improve education by making education easily accessible to the girl child, especially the grassroots girl child, who suffers a higher tension and a greater volume of the things that happen around gender activism.
Interesting. So, how crucial are support networks and mentorship for women aspiring to enter politics, and what challenges do they face in accessing these resources?
Hello, I think my network is bad. I didn't get you.
Okay, I'm talking about how crucial are support networks, regards to women that are aspiring to be in politics, and how accessible are these resources to them?
Hmm. The resources are not readily available. I mean, one of the greatest resources a woman should be, furnished with is financial resources, mental aid. The woman should be well prepared mentally to face the propaganda, the rumors, the lies, the stories that will rip her off her feet in politics. So she has to be mentally prepared, and then the woman needs to be furnished financially for. I mean, there's a lot of financial battle in politics. I got to discover that for myself, and I worked for politics myself. You are not telling anybody nothing. You are not telling any group anything. You are not trying to permeate any crowd until you give them something to make life easy for them. So you need a lot of financial resources, you need a lot of mental aid and support, you need a lot of psychosocial support, you need a lot of man-made, mankind, manpower sufficiency and support. You need a lot of people who have been there, people who will be there, and people who are sitting behind as mentors that will help you, grow through the process.
Opinion, since you've had experiences, what systematic barriers within political parties actually contribute to the underrepresentation of women in politics?
I've spoken about it before. I talked about political parties not being able to allow women to be leaders, like being chairman of political parties. I talked about political parties selling a very exorbitant ticket. It's systemic, it's in the system, it's already becoming a norm. And then there's also the factor of political parties dominating for so many years. A particular political party may dominate in the state for so many years. So it's systemic. Everybody wants to sing and run according to the tune of a particular political party, even when they are not spreading out the dividends of democracy as expected. But no, what we know is that this is the ruling party. This is where party, the strength is supreme. So everybody has to align to that political party. So there are some systemic flaws that needs to be dismantled, that needs to be scraped out, so that people cannot be limited by some of those, tiny, tiny barriers that eventually prevent, especially women, from participating in politics. So naturally, a woman can be viable, she can be credible, and she wants to participate in politics. And she's told, "Do you have card in this particular party?" I know as a new timer, she doesn't have card. She has never been member of that very dominant party. So how do you now do it? You need to be part of the people who are running the show, or you don't run the show at all. That's why you find a lot of our people trying to share views and partake from the dominant party, even when they know that the system in the dominant party is not funding the society properly.
Okay, I just want to put out a question to you. Do you really believe that there are gender roles, even in politics? Do you really believe there are gender roles?
So predominantly, the gender roles are so skeletal because once politics is involved, you win a position, you face that position. So there's minimal or no relevance to gender roles. But where we find gender roles is before the winning of the election. You come to a political group, a man is number one, chairman, vice chairman. A man is also the secretary. A man is the treasurer. And maybe by number five or number six, you see a woman who is being named a woman leader and she's basking in the euphoria of being a woman leader. No, that's relegation. Women should also be allowed those very prominent positions in political parties so that their voices will be amplified and they can resound their strength to take up the bigger battles and and lead. So the gender roles does not limit anyone from performing optimally. It's before the winning that you will find gender roles playing very dominant relegation in some of the things women do. So that is it.
Oh, okay. Just to be clear, do you really see a woman becoming the president of Nigeria in the future?
Of course, why not? Of course, why not? I can give you 100 names. I can give you 100 very credible names. Women who have swam through the tide, turbulence of the political sea. Women who have made marks in entrepreneurship, in governance, in banking sector, in development sector. I can give you about 200 names that I don't need anybody to help me. The truth is, Nigeria will come to that point where it understands that these same people who built the small cross of the society called the family can as well merge it all up and build the society. So I always envision in Nigeria where they carefully and joyfully on their own say, women, now you're climb the podium and let's see what you're bringing to the fore. And also the fight is not just about any kind of woman, it's the woman with the salt, the woman with the character, the woman with that, oh my God, the woman with that competence enough to carry the weight of over 200 and something million people and govern them properly. So it's not a far-fetched dream. It's just that we need to tell ourselves that hard truth that women can do this and they can do it even better.
I mean, considering the position of the president of a country, it's a really strong office, with so many things going on there. Do you think, how a woman is structured? Do you think that we are built to, overcome situations like this and take up offices as critical and as sensitive as the position of the president of a country?
I mean, what's there? What's happening? Have we been warring in Nigeria? Is there a big fight in Asoro that cannot be curbed? We have over 64 women leaders in the country who are presidents or either prime ministers of their various countries, and they're doing significantly well. Recently, we had the new president of Namibia, who is a woman, advanced, intelligent, and facing the storm. So why would Nigerian women who have made marks in so many sectors not also lead? So I find no trouble so big that, I mean, Nigerian woman cannot take up the mantle. I do not find it anywhere. Our structure
Interesting.
naturally also has
I mean,
a
just to
higher
make
structure.
things easier for women. Can you hear
Mhm.
me?
I'm hearing you now. I'm hearing you.
Okay, just to make things easier for women, are there like certain support groups that that recruit women that are aspiring to hold potential offices in governance? Are there like support groups or whichever form that it comes in that targeted towards women and helping them achieve this particular aim?
Okay, so that was what we did in 2022 up till now. So that was what you see there. It's Women Support Women for Human Development and Mentorship, Human Empowerment and Mentorship Initiative. Now, what we did in 2022 was to collapse all the women candidates, aspirants, and we started speaking for them through billboards, posters, flyers, media, television, newspapers, and a whole lot of things to see if we could have a greater number of women appear that particular year. Unfortunately, it wasn't so. So there's a platform, there's Women Support Women for Human Empowerment and Mentorship Initiative. It's purely for women in governance. It's an NGO that speaks, sensitizes, advocates, educates the society for inclusion of women in politics and governance.
Okay. It was so amazing having this conversation with you, and we intend to have more of this in the future. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.